Hi, my name is Skylar. I am in Girl Scout Troop 742, and today I'm going to be explaining how to create your own rain garden. So a rain garden is a garden of native plants and shrubs that is typically put in a low-lying area where excess water likes to collect. So after it rains, if you see an area of water sitting in some grass that hasn't fully seeped through, that would be a good area for a rain garden. Or if you're walking through your yard and you notice that it's really squishy, that might also be a really good place for a rain garden. Native plants and shrubs are essential to any rain garden due to the fact that they have really deep root systems which increase groundwater percolation, which will get rid of that standing water in whatever area you choose to put it. Many native plants are also great for pollinators, which is helpful because their populations are unfortunately rapidly declining. Pollinators are essential to the well-being of our country due to the fact that they pollinate our crops, which give us fruit and vegetables and other grains to eat. Rain gardens are an environmentally friendly and relatively low-cost way to fix any drainage problems in a certain area. They also act as a natural filtration system for polluted water and stormwater runoff. Many native grasses and shrubs are very dense, which reduces erosion and topsoil loss. According to the Groundwater Foundation, rain gardens allow 30% more water to soak into the ground. Increased urbanization and suburbanization are taking away naturally occurring green spaces, leading to the lack of food source and habitat for pollinator populations. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find an area to put your rain garden. As you can see in this picture, there's an area of standing water where the water is obviously not percolating into the soil. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to measure your area. So this one is a 20.3 by 12.5 foot area. The next thing you're going to want to do is figure out the amount of materials you need. And you can do this easily by using a landscape materials calculator, and all you have to do is Google garden materials calculator, and your answer is going to be in cubic yards. So for this size garden, which again was about a 20.3 by 12.5 foot garden, and it required about 2 yards of materials, and I actually had a little bit extra left over as well. So you might be thinking, well, where am I going to get all these materials? Like, this is going to be so expensive. But a lot of times in bigger cities and suburbs, they offer free compost and mulch that you can go pick up yourself. And you can purchase native plants at local places, typically just by Googling native plant nurseries in my area. So as you can see, I started digging by hand. And this being a bigger garden, that ended up being a lot more work than I anticipated. So I would highly recommend you going and renting a little excavator to dig up the dirt if you need to. There are also other ways that you can remove grass from an area. This is just the way that I chose to do it. Before you start digging, I also highly recommend having a place that you know you can dump the dirt, because especially for this large of a garden, I had to fill up 3 truckloads full, and it was a lot to dump, and it was very heavy. So make sure you're not illegally dumping anywhere. Make sure that you can take it somewhere where either a property owner is okay with you dumping it there, or I know some businesses that will actually accept any dirt that you have to drop off. So after I got done digging up the dirt, I started spreading the compost. And I chose compost because it has a high amount of nutrients in it, and I figured that that would be good for young plants to have. So the next thing that I did was I dug the holes of where I wanted the plants to go. It's super important, I think, to do this beforehand and also do your research about the plants that you're buying. That way you know how far they need to be spread apart for when they mature to a full-grown plant. And I actually had a little diagram for where I wanted all the plants to go based on the environment that they liked, whether they like to be more wet or more dry, and then of course their height. This diagram can also be helpful for knowing how many plants you need to buy as well. You can easily create this chart by knowing the area of your garden and then knowing roughly about how much area each plant needs to grow. So for my garden, I knew one of the sides was roughly 20 feet, so I took 20 feet divided by 2 feet that each plant would need to grow to its maturity, and then the other side was 12 feet roughly, divided by 2 feet again, and so that was 10 on one side and 6 on the other, so 10 times 6 is 60 plants. So before I even started planting, I went ahead and I put all of the plants where they were supposed to go, just so I wouldn't have to keep running back and forth. After they were all planted, we started spreading the mulch. I decided to put mulch on top of my garden because mulch is really good for retaining moisture, which is needed here because during the day in my area it gets very hot, so I don't want my plants to dry out. It's also worth noting that even though the area that I live in is great for rain gardens, it also gets dry here sometimes, so if you do live in a more dry climate, make sure you water your rain garden, even though it sounds a little counterintuitive. Water it so that way the plants stay alive, so when it does rain, they can properly do their job. If you know anyone who's interested in creating a rain garden, please go ahead and share this video with them. I would love for my project to touch as many people as possible and help out anyone who has any questions. I would like to say a very special thank you to my family for helping me put together this rain garden. I definitely couldn't have done it by myself. I'd like to thank Michelle Silsby, who works for my city, who helped me organize this and worked with me that way I could do it. I'd like to thank Rhonda Meyer for being the best troop leader I could have asked for. And of course, I'd like to thank Tracy Hull and Linda Wirtz for helping me along with my project and accepting it. That way I could get it going. And of course, Linda for being my Gold Award advisor and answering all the questions that I had. I'd like to thank Jerry, who also works for the city, who helped me dump my mulch and compost because I could not have done it because I don't drive a truck. And of course, I'd like to thank Girl Scout Troop 423 for helping me plant my plants and letting me bestow some wisdom on them for hopefully completing their gold awards in the future. And of course, I'd like to thank the Geosciences Academy for keeping my project going and taking care of it in the future. And of course, thank you to those of you who are viewing this video. I would love if you guys could take a short little quiz that'll be linked in the description below that just ask you questions about this video and what you guys learned, just so I can use it for my results and to see if I need to make any edits. And of course, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment. I'm pretty quick about getting back to people. And if you found this video helpful, please leave a like. That helps me know that I did really good on this. And of course, thank you again so much for watching. This means so much to me.